Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So in today's video I want to revisit a project that I was doing last year and I hadn't finished, and I think I've worked out why it never got finished. So I want to address that and get it back on track because it's been pinned to my mannequin. And the mannequin is now being boxed up and sent to my new craft room as I'm slowly moving house. So it's another thing that can jump in the van and head up to the new house. Now, pinned to that mannequin is this piece. Now, the piece came from last year, the second part of the year, when we were doing the Roxy Creations treasure hunt. And I started 3 pieces. I did Honey Bear, my teddy from my childhood that I embellished her a new dress with all the treasures, the prompts from the Roxy girls. And I did the journal, which holds lots of treasures that just need to be protected within the pages of a journal. And this piece, which was all about a dedication to my grandmother, who was a seamstress. Now this sewing machine, I have her sewing machine. The mannequin gave me the idea for the mannequin. Actually, my best mate, Marianne, gave me the idea of how to present it on the mannequin. So I went and ordered a mannequin from Spotlight. And the plan was to pin it to the dress that was on the mannequin. I had a little dress from the 1950s, which was a little gathered skirt with a little bolero type top, very neutral. And the gathered skirt had a draped lace skirt over the top. And the theory was to hitch it up on one side. There's videos through the series of Treasure Hunt where you can actually see the mannequin, and the skirt was hitched up, and this panel was going to be inserted under that lace. Let me just zoom up a bit. So the piece of calico that it's on is the circumference of the waistline of the mannequin. So I was following it through the series with all the prompts, hearts, lace, monograms, things like that. And as the series went on, I just got so involved in the other 2 projects that this one just sort of sat in the corner of the room looking at me. And whenever there was a prompt, I'd pin something on it, but just never got back to it. And I couldn't work out, you know when you have those projects where they just don't come together? And I was looking at this mannequin and it's become a bit of a running joke that it's the elephant in the room. Unfinished projects drive me insane. They've really got to disappear for me to forget about them. Otherwise, they're just there. They're bugging me like a pulsating light in the corner of the room. And this was one of them. And there's so many beautiful things on this that mean so much to me, and a dedication to my grandmother. Now, the actual cross stitch I did, I think I worked out 28 years ago. And at the time when I did the cross stitch, it was a dedication to my grandmother then. So the treasure hunt program that the girls rolled out last year was just perfect. It just was perfect. And I had treasures from my French trip. There's treasures of lace here from my grandmother's cupboard when we packed up her room. I don't know, it was just meant to be, but it didn't come together. Anyway, mannequin's got this pin to it, and it's time to pop it in the box and send it up to Bar. And I'm like, well, is it going to stand in that craft room and look at me for the next 5 years? No. So I thought, well, I'm going to take it all off the mannequin. So the mannequin now is in its box and getting loaded into the van in the next few days, and it's on its way to the craft room. So I'm looking at this piece thinking, well, maybe I just make it as a stitched piece. And suddenly my head just opened up with ideas, and I just felt like a weight was lifted from my shoulders. And I think the problem was, this is where I think it went wrong. When I was traveling with Marianne back from my parents' property, having visited Dad, Marianne had given me a lift because she was teaching in the district. So I went for a quick up overnight and travelled with Marianne, caught a lift. And we were talking about the treasure hunt series, what projects would I do? And I said I sort of didn't mind the idea of a dedication to the seamstress, and Marianne goes, oh, why don't you get a mannequin? I was like, yeah. And I toiled on the idea half-heartedly for about a week, but I ordered the Mannequin. And I guess the biggest thing that was bugging me, and I said it at the time, and I should have listened to my gut instinct, was that the Mannequin with a piece of embroidery on it was going to gather dust. Where if a piece of embroidery is behind glass, it's protected. If it's hanging behind a door, it's protected to some degree. If it was a mannequin in the room, well, it's a work of art in itself. I didn't know if I'd have the space for it. It was a dust collector. I probably would want to use the Mannequin in the future, and it had this work of art on it. So that wasn't sitting really well with it. And as this piece evolved, I think the underlying, it's sitting there looking at me and is potentially a piece of dust collecting, and I can't use the Mannequin for anything else because it was all stitched onto this thing. That, I think, was my problem. And that is why I lost interest in the piece. It just wasn't working for me. So I've pulled it off the Mannequin, or off the dress that was on the Mannequin, and I want to rework it because I still love the concept of a dedication to my grandmother and her work. Now, before we get into that, there's another piece that is bugging me as well. So I was going through my projects that I'd completed, and I was actually stitching onto them because I'm sort of waiting for the next, hang on, let me grab something. I'm waiting for the next prompt for the girls to kick off the month of February. And I thought, oh, I need a video for Thursday. Now, I will have only just found out the new prompt for Feb, and that's just way too quick for me to get my head around what the girls announce, and potentially get a project up and running myself to, you know, join in on the fun. So I thought, well, I need this Thursday video. What am I going to do? I've got so many projects in my head that I want to start, but I don't know, I just felt like there was a bit of tidying up needing to be done. And I'm packing my room up, so it sort of unearths unfinished projects. So I was sitting around stitching my little tags on a few of my pieces because I plan to take them to an up-and-coming retreat that Susanna from Vintage Blend Studios is holding, and everyone's to bring along some of their work, and just we're going to display it and everyone can have a look at each other's pieces. And a lot of us in the group have been going along with the Roxy Journal of Stitchery. So I had these little tags, and I said to Susanna, I ordered them off Etsy. I'll put a link to the little shop. And I think I stitched 1 or 2 onto a piece. I think Honey Bear got 1 on a dress. And I haven't gone back through my old work and stitched my tags on. So I was doing that, and I come across this piece. So it's been quite an eventful morning. I've pulled down the Mannequin and all the elements attached to it, and I've been pinning this little tag onto all my finished pieces, ready to pop them in a suitcase and take them to this retreat. And this piece come along. So I'm looking at it, and it's now lying on the table next to the Seamstress. And I'm thinking, Now this piece is unfinished, and it was part of a retreat that I went to with Lisa Maddock at Forage down in Melbourne. And we were given a piece of fabric and all of this beautiful floral fabric, and we fussy cut them out and tacked them on. And because it was only a few days, there's only so much I got done. So I started concentrating on this area when it came to the embroidery. So there's a little bit of embroidery here, and I just haven't got back to it. So once again, I've got this second project that is just hanging around. And look at the colour connection. Like, could they not be merged? So I was looking at this piece. So this is what this series is going to be. It's going to be completing my treasure hunt, the Seamstress. Before I go and start any new projects, let's just rewind and get this done. So what the plan is to pull this apart, grab off all the elements, and work it into this piece. So I hope you join me. I hope you hang around. I'm wondering if you're all now looking across your craft room and going, oh, look what that's over in the corner there. I really should pick it up again and finish it. So that's the plan. That's the plan. So what I thought I might do in the very first video of the treasure hunt, oh gosh, I feel like I've gone back in time, is work out what I'm going to do with this piece so that it merges into this piece. I have embroidered into here. Let me zoom in so you can see. Those of you who've been with me for a while, you will recognize the piece. I have embroidered into here, little bits and pieces, not a lot, but little bits. So I'm very reluctant to pull this apart, to be honest. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to start, I need a container. I'm going to start at the top of this. And why don't I want to finish this? Let me just show you something. This one is a heart, and it's to be viewed on the angle. Gosh, I'm just looking at it thinking I do like it. I just, you know, I'm a practical girl, if you haven't noticed already. When this is completed, it needs to be in a frame so that it hangs easily, showing the heart. Now, we had a choice in the course to do a wreath or a heart, and we could put this fabric on any axis we wanted. So I put it on this angle for something different and did the heart. And through the whole process, I'm like, gosh, will this ever be framed? How do I present it? I can't even hang it on. I hang all my pieces on a wooden, let me grab it. All my pieces are hanging on a wooden peg, a clothes hanger like this. So when I hang it and someone's flipping through my work, you don't even see that it's a heart. So I feel like I've lost the direction I was heading in. So this is, I think, why this piece didn't get any more work, because it was sort of, well, not practical. See, once again, and luckily, all I did was just stitch these down with a tiny little stitch. So here we go. I'm going to pull apart this piece very carefully, which is going to give me heaps of little elements that I sat there for hours making. And see, these were little yo-yos, squishy flowers, all sorts of goodies. Some of them are fabrics that were part of my kit with the retreat. Others are fabrics that I already owned. Got all these little cherry blossoms. So yeah, that's the plan. I am going to finish my treasure hunt. I know how the girls feel. Sarah often mentions that she's still got Down the Garden Path working, and she doesn't want to, you know, rush and finish it because there's so many little details that she's yet to add to her work. I totally get it. You know, there's just some pieces that you thoroughly enjoy making, but you're not finished, or there's something quite not right. I honestly think it's better off stopping. Look at all these little pieces of green tulle, letting it sit until it's ready to find you again. And when I saw this piece, oh, look at the butterflies. When I saw this piece sitting there next to the seamstress, I'm like, oh boy, are they not a match made? So I'm going to pull these two pieces back. I'm going to pull them apart, grab all of the elements. I'll have to go back through the videos and make a bit of a list of all of the treasure hunt prompts, because I want to make sure that I've covered off on all of the different elements, because there were some really good ones in there that help bring diversity into your piece. So, see, I took some crocheting with me, and Made rosettes out of some old lace and crocheting. So there you go. Before Corinne goes and starts another project, she's going to finish her treasure hunt seamstress piece. I know there's a lot of you out there that were like, oh, that's my favorite piece, and you're probably wondering, actually a few of you have sent messages and said, Corinne, what's going on with seamstress? And yeah, nothing, because it just wasn't right. I tell you, if you have a feeling about something with your work, put it aside, and it's okay. Put it aside, take your time. What is it that is annoying you about it? What is it that's just not sitting right? Because creativity is very instinctual, I think. So if your instinct is saying, no, I just think that's not right, stop. Give yourself time to absorb it. And I thought, well, the girls' projects this year, they've graced us with time to make the different projects. You can do as much as little as you like. They're all useful. Well, I presume so. I get the impression they will be. And I just think that's great, because we've all been chugging along with them since day one, making all of our little projects. And you might have down the garden path still needing some work. So let's use this 6 months to revisit some of the previous girls' projects and just take a breath and finish it. Oh, there's a pin in there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, take a breath and finish, finish off what we started. And this 6 months might be just the perfect time slot. So I hope you'll stick with me as I regather my thoughts, revisit. There's another pin. Oh my goodness me. This piece is lethal. Isn't that interesting? I hadn't even finished it and I still had pins and oh goodness me. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you've got one of the projects from the Roxy girls that you haven't quite finished, and you might just walk over to it, pick it up and lay your hands on it again. Be interesting to see if some fresh eyes and a bit of, I guess, time allows you to, turn it into something completed. I've got so many little elements, like little pieces of tulle that I'd stitched together, little bits of cheesecloth. I'm excited. I think too, I've got, like I said, a couple projects up my sleeve, but I don't know, I'm a bit of a try and get it finished before you move on. And we've got a lot on our plate at the moment with what we're currently doing. So to go and start something else, I know Tia and Susanna were like, oh my goodness, girl. So I thought, yeah, they're right. Let's just back it up a bit. And there's plenty here to do. Gosh, there's plenty to do. So yeah, that's the plan. I think too that Susanna is working through some UFOs, unfinished projects, and I was watching her squishy bag come together. She did the video last week finishing her squishy bag, and the sheer enjoyment in her voice, you could hear it, of her finishing it, and the realization there wasn't actually much work left to do on it. Yet she had been grizzling about the squishy bag, sitting there looking at her for months, and she goes, oh, I must finish it, and I just, and we were off on new tangents, it's like, yeah, you're right, that squishy bag has to be done. And it was only a couple hours work and it was done. Admittedly, this won't be a couple hours work, but it will be fun to finish it. Love this piece of linen that I got from the girls. I had thought before I sat down that I might cut it through here and just make a small little piece. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do. Now that the heart, the rope heart that's in behind it is removed, I guess I now can think about what else I could do to this piece to make it work. And some of the ladies at the retreat did wreaths, and they were just so beautiful. But the jewelry's out on that. That's a decision for another day. At the moment, it's all about getting it back to a square and then merging some of these elements onto this piece. So look at all the stitching I did through there. Oh, love it. It's tricky. You love your piece, but you just can't quite bring your piece together. And sometimes time is what you need. Oh, another pin. I'm trying to snip at something there, and I'm thinking, gee, that feels hard. Another blooming pin. Dangerous. Imagine if I'd rolled that up in my hands to take somewhere. That would have hurt. So I've stitched down the little element and then just... it's because it was rush. You know when you're on a retreat and it's only like 3 days or 4 days, I can't remember what it was now, and you just want to try and get as much as you can done, and there's lots of ideas floating around, and I just felt so rushed and just out of your room. You're not settled. It probably takes a couple of days, I think, to settle into a strange place to do stitching. And yeah. I love all these little pieces of tulle. Little leafy bits. And then I had these little pieces of twine tucked in around the place to give the shape of the heart. So I'll keep them because, you know, never know. You never know. We've got plans to revisit to a pouch, a pouch that Susanna made a few years ago, and she's been busy putting together some kits. And she's got 3 videos up there from a little while back, and where she makes it. And I was watching them, and I'm like, Susanna, we should revisit your pouch and apply some new techniques to it. And some, well, embellishing wise, not the pouch will be the same construction. So we're just not sure if we will do that this month or after the retreat. We sort of have a lot on our plate, and yeah, I think by finishing some UFOs, and then maybe later after the retreat, she will release her fabric kits, and we'll revisit that pouch, and I'll make a version and she'll make her version out of those kits. So that's up and coming too. I hope I haven't spoken out of school there, Susanna, but she's been busy putting together some beautiful fabrics, absolutely beautiful. So stay tuned. If we might do it in February, I don't know, but we'll have to just see how the month rolls. Hey, before we know it, the month will be over. So how quickly time marches. Okay, so as I said before, I'm not going to pull this apart. Yeah, no. So I've got a couple options. I could redesign it that the threads from up here that top border comes down into here, and it becomes just a small piece with a little frame. Who knows? At the moment, at the moment. I'm going to just leave it at that. Who knows? I'm going to think about that some more. But it's given me some bits and bobs. Don't like that up there. It's really big. It sort of made sense when it was a heart, but design-wise, I think I'll quickly stitch that down lower. So I've just gone off the side track again now. I wonder if I could use this on the pouch. Now that would be something. I redesign it so that it becomes a big long rectangle. You'll know more when you... Actually, I'll link Susanna's videos from when she made the pouch. And you can take a little look at the future project. And we're going to need a rectangular piece of stitching. Now Susanna's going to piece together strips that are similar to a jelly roll to make a quilted look to the pouch, and then she embellishes it with bits and pieces. So she gave me the size of which the panel needs to be. Let me grab a piece of paper. So if you're out there looking at a UFO that you're like, oh, what am I going to do with it? Well, maybe you could consider or have a think about it in the meantime, that it could be made into this pouch. Now, Susanna said that the panel, because you need to watch the videos, the 3 videos. She's going to redo it in a series and launch these kits, but if you're not doing it in that manner, you just need a finished panel, a rectangle that's about 30 inches by 10.5 inches. So what's the measurement of this? Maybe I can redesign this piece to be the side to her pouch. Where's my tape measure? Gosh. So 10.5 inches is the height. Gee. I'd have to adjust that little leaf down the bottom there. I could probably make it a bit taller too. And I could put a base, 12 inches, so I could make it taller. Let me just draw you what I'm talking about. You're probably thinking, gosh girl, what are you talking about? I'm just grabbing a piece of paper. So Susanna's pouch, gosh, how quickly we get sidetracked, has a circular piece of fabric on the bottom, and then up from the side of it comes a panel that is predominantly a rectangle. So you have 2 elements. You have the circle and you have the rectangle. So this is the pattern. And then you stitch the 2 sides together to get your cylinder, and then you gather along there to shrink it in to fit the base. Okay? And Susanna's technique that she does is she cuts heaps of strips of fabric, joins them together, and her kit will have strips of fabric that she's curated to be the new version of the pouch. She joins them together, she cuts them, and what she ends up with is lots of little colourful fabric squares all stitched together, rows and rows and rows of them that create the rectangle that gets stitched together and attached to the base. And then at the top here, cordage goes through that you cinch it together. Watch the video and you'll know what the hang I'm talking about. Now, because I want to do something a little bit different but based on that design, she said that I should aim to have 30 inches by 10.5 inches as my rectangle. So I'm wondering if this could be adapted, and then this imagery would be on the outside of the pouch. So at the moment it stands at 10.5 inches already. Now, because it's a circular base to it, picture the strips that Susanna's created are all in rows here. This bottom row of stripping is under the actual pouch when it sits. So it's the bottom is hidden and you lose a good 2 inches or so. So I think what I'd have to do is actually put a strip of fabric here, and then that would disappear onto the table. That becomes the side, and the flowers would be seen in their glory. So my pouch will be taller, and I would need to put something here just to protect the embroidery, as it will be tucked under where it meets the circle. Does that make sense? Anyway, look, it's an up and coming stitchery that I'm going to do. This piece is going to be part of the project, and that'll give it a new home and a new purpose. So stay tuned for that. Susanna's going to revisit the version she did those years ago on an older video, and she is going to have some kits too and go through that process again, like refilm that pouch, and I'm going to do a version of. So yeah, okay, that's good. That's now got a purpose. Let's get back to this one. I think I'm going to strip it back a little. I've got all these little patches of fabric here. I think I'm just going to pull them back out. I'm going to pull some of this lace out as well. I'll leave what is stitched. That's part of the challenge. What is stitched down will stay. I really like that. I know a few of you didn't like it. You made comments in the things that you felt it was jumping out at you, but I like it. And I'm wondering, I think these little guys can go. What if all of these bits build onto this? Yeah, don't know. Just have a little think about it all. Let's just keep all the elements that I've added. So some of these were part of prompts too. So yeah, we're going to see all this is stitched. So that's staying. I've got a heart here that I embroidered. So that has to find a home on the piece. Got a little crocheted heart over here that I made for the heart prompt. Got lace over here. Oh, this feels so good just to get it back to basics and start again. Here's another lace heart that I made for that prompt. Anything else up here? Is that stitched? See, that's lace from my mother's wedding dress, and she had like a very simple dress, but then over it was a jacket that went to the floor. Here's the bit that I had sitting on the mannequin. It was a long sleeve jacket that went to the hemline, very straight, over a very simple dress. It was so pretty, and I've got some of that lace. So, and Grandma made it, of course, being a wedding dressmaker. So that has to be added to my treasure hunt piece, which it is. That's all stitched. See, this piece up here, that was bugging me too when I put it on. Just didn't feel right. So that's off now. Lace, lace. That's stitched. That's a very old piece of lace from, being that my grandmother was a wedding dressmaker, I do want to bring a lot of lace into the piece because that was the world I grew up in going. And this piece I'd worked into the Mannequin. So I'm not adverse to getting the bling on this piece because it's very much a wedding environment. So beware if you don't like bling. Look away now. Got all these beautiful little morsels here. So that's attached, that's attached. Another little container of lace. So let's get a little container for that. A container for that. And then we've got, I'm going to put that back. I'm not going to use that. And that's going to go back in my French fabrics. What else have we got? I might just sit that in there. So there's our goodies. Is there anything else pinned? No. Okay, that's where we're at. So I guess, how big is this piece going to be? Where's our boundary? Is that pinned? No. What's happening here? Oh, okay, so the collar was never stitched down. All right. I sort of do like that. I don't know if I need all these patches of fabric. I think I need to find a piece of fabric that just comes in there in one. Is that stitch? That stitch. There's the edge of my cross stitch. Okay, well, let's make this the top edge as per previous. Let's potentially maybe do the floral treatment here using all those elements. And then it leads to this visually, so we're coming across the piece. Lace drifts in through the sides, and then lace can come up, or more floral can come up through here. Okay, yeah, all right. So these little guys, how are we going to work them in? That was the beauty of the treasure hunt prompts, is you could just pop random things around, and it was so clever and gave you so much flexibility. I'm not convinced of that. Not convinced of that either. Not yet got a home, but that's okay. All right, well, let's assume it finishes there. Where's this piece here? Such a beautiful piece of work. If that doesn't scream my grandmother's world of embroidering beads onto brides' wedding dresses. But is it too big? Is it too... See, I don't really want to cut into it. Probably could. Gosh, I remember her stitching on diamantes. They've even stacked those diamantes on beads, like they're sitting up in the air. It's a bit of a thing on TikTok at the moment. I know reels there. Martha, she is stacking beads like that. Very clever. So there's an opportunity that maybe I just nibble out little pieces just to back it up a little bit. So we've got a bit of a spot here that's a bit plain. Not convinced. Where's my little lace bucket again? What came off of this? Anything? Layers. Gosh, just the memories of her sewing room. Every little girl's absolute dream to go into a sewing room full of lace and pretty bits. I really feel like that corner needs to be all about lace. It's just, and I've got this little spot here. I also need to work out what is happening at this bottom corner. So another thing to consider. Let's go back up. I'm a bit all over the place here, but that's, you know, just working out my ideas. I think that this collar is providing me with a beautiful spot to do a floral embellishment up here. So that lace collar is going to be stitched down. The question is, do I slide in a piece of fabric in behind there to start building up a corner? Very likely. And let's have a look at all these bits. Have we got enough elements? So we need some big pieces. So we got a big daisy, that's great. What's that there? Tiny little morsel. I think you're going to get lost, my little morsely friend. I need to take you off. There goes my rule of we don't unpick anything. Ah, it's gone. Must have had a little blank spot, so I've tucked in that little piece of lace there to cover a gap. Keep it. Let's bring this guy over into here. I think I need to cut that off and bring that into there. Okay. And we've got a bud. Oh, look at that. That's fun. That needs to go up the top. That'll soften that top edge as we work back towards. I don't like that, but I like the hydrangea. Bring the hydrangea into there. Then we've got lots of fill pieces, don't we? I might need to go looking for some more feature elements. We've got these guys, which brings the pop of bright in. Maybe I do have enough. greenery. Once I get it pieced, I'll just look at it for a day or so and decide whether it's meeting the requirements of, I might have enough after all. Sort of feel like I've got this gap coming here. I just remembering too, I've got all this, so gaps are okay because I can then bring yummy little bits in to sort of build up the texture, and so I'm okay with that. So that means I could probably pull this out a little bit and allow myself to have some more gaps. So there you go, I was bringing it all in tight, but I can actually afford to loosen up a little bit there, because those little pockets of air can be all of this pieces. I would say the rest of this piece is going to be quite subdued. This is like a massive structure coming in from the top. I suspect that down in places like that, I could do little morsels of embroidery, just to have pops of it drifting around the place, and then have more little bits added, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to stress about blank spots when it could be something like that. I'm going to pin that down because it still features the collar underneath. So let's pin that. Imagine if my grandmother was sitting here with me. I'm just having a moment thinking of her. She's no longer with us. Imagine if she was sitting here looking at this slow stitch embroidery mushed together world that we're now experiencing, which is just divine. I think she would find it so liberating. I'm going to just take that little bit off of there. She would find it so liberating after being such a fancy work. And I'd love to see what she would think when she looked at this and went, oh, you're going to put that there, or why don't you do this, or I think she'd thoroughly enjoy it. Got all these little bits. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Oh, happy. Now, we're okay with that gap. That gap. Might even pull that. No, go back. Up a bit. Do I need him? Yep. Just sort of spacing it out a little bit because I think I can afford to, due to the additional elements coming in. And some things will just get covered, like this green leaf here, this guy here. I think that'll all get covered with a cluster. I think this guy is a nice rose, so he'll be embroidered, but he might have a cluster right behind him. This little guy is just a bit of a fill, but might end up getting embroidered and be lost. I think he's good. Yep. It's like recycling and repurposing, isn't it? I did track down the fabric that is this. I think it's Festive Carnival or something like that. I've talked about it before. It's a pretty fabric. So I've got these elements of green. Don't have much left, do I? Okay. Couple little flowers. All right, have I got enough pins there? I'm going to go ahead and stitch all that down. Just with invisible stitch. And that'll get it at least attached to my piece. If we don't like something, it's very easy to, you know, take it off. So now that they're come off, I'm liking that side. It's what we do with this side. Do we keep this side plain? You know, when something's really heavy on one side, do you really need heaviness on the other side? Just a thought. So I'm just going to fold that over and see what a simple border or simple edge to the project would look like. And then maybe if that come in, just sort of looking at my boundaries now. So I'm just coming down the bottom here, folding that under. I really like that edge where I blanket stitched the Aida cloth to begin my work, so I don't want to lose that. So I don't think I will fold that under, but I will do that. Yeah. Let's pin that. So it's giving me a boundary. And I might do the same the other side. So then I have this tucked in folded side, nice and neat. But maybe I get loose and messy at the top and the bottom of the panel. Let's spin it around. Just ideas at the moment, nothing set. Don't want to cut this piece of lace here. So maybe the Aida cloth wraps around the edge. You can even see the ring from the hoop and my grotty little fingers, which I find quite interesting. Oh dear. That's okay. I like it. I like the fact that you can see the maker and where the maker was by the grotty little line there. I've watched it back then to get rid of it, but it was just stitching it in heat, Queensland heat. Way back then, our house wasn't air conditioned, so we would suffer the heat with a fan. It's just what happened, you know. We were very early in our marriage, so, you know, things were coming together slowly for us. So I'm okay with it. Is that crooked? Did I just do that crooked? A little bit. See that corner up here? That's telling me something went a little pear-shaped. Let's get that straight. Okay, start again, girl. It's crooked. Fabric is straight. Yep. Now we're going to roll the Aida cloth. Oh, what's going on here? Come on. Bit of a finger press. Maybe the, oh, I see. So the actual Aida cloth piece was on crooked, but so that can be part of the binding. Yeah, the Aida cloth piece was crooked. Yeah, the Aida cloth can be part of the binding that will finish the piece. To have that piece wrapped around there. Happy with that. And those can come through there. So we've now got our side boundaries for the piece. Yeah. We've got a floral treatment coming at the top. Down through the lace, there'll be smatterings of bits and bobs through. I'll have a look at the prompts. Let's just spin it around. I'll have a look at this top edge. Got an opportunity for more floral to come in up here. So I need to go hunting for some more fabrics that suit. Yeah, I'm so tempted to pull that piece apart, but I'm not going to. I'm pretty sure I'd have something around. That guy, those, but no. I think they will be part of that pouch that I've spoken about. I might go hunting for some more pinks, greens, floral elements that I can bring in to, I guess, draping in. See, even that might get moved. I think this is going to be plain over here. I honestly feel like, let me zoom up a little bit so you can sort of see the piece as I'm seeing it. I think that's where I'm going to go with it, but we'll see. Okay. I do need to get that heart in. Here I thought I was going to say goodbye, but no, I've just had where's this little guy? This one I'm may or may not use. This little guy I definitely want to use. She did a lot of fancy work. And when I stitched this, I was really felt like this was her. So I think I need to work that little guy in. I really do. I don't know where yet. Don't mind it down there. It's hard when you've got such beautiful lace to, you know, piece something over it. It's really tricky. But anyway, something will come of it all. I'm positive. Okay, guys, I just looked up at the clock and we're on the hour. How quickly that goes. I feel like I've got some direction. I'm revisiting this piece, the treasure hunt, bring it back into play. And this piece here, I think I'm going to deconstruct it a little bit more, as in the background fabric. I love this quilted look that I did. I like that. So I think this is going to be remodeled to become that pouch in a future series when Susanna's ready to release her kits and make it again, refresh the video series on her channel, and I'll just tag along. And I think this piece has potential for that. So stay tuned. If you want to have a bit of a sneaky look at the pouch that I'm talking about, I'll have a link below to those videos. We're having a good giggle when we were watching it. And she was like, oh, it feels like so long ago. And she loves a pouch. Like, she uses it all the time, this little caddy pouch. So I was like, yeah, well, let's do it again. It's a ripper. Okay. All right, guys, look after yourselves, and I will catch you all in the next video, and I will, yeah, keep you up to speed on what happens with the seamstress. All right, guys, bye.